So good morning students. So in last class in online class 2 we have discussed regarding some converter. So that is the part of your power modulator. So power modulator is generally having three basic components, that is your converters, switching circuits, and the next one is your variable impedance circuits, right? So last class we have started the converter part and we have completed two types of converter, that is your AC to DC conversion, which is called as your rectifier, and the second type of conversion is your DC to AC conversion, which is called as your inverter. Again we have seen in AC to DC type of conversion, in our rectifier part we have seen how the AC energy can be converted into fixed values of DC voltage and by using the diode bridge rectifier. And again we have seen how the fixed AC voltage can be converted into your variable DC voltage by using different controlled power semiconductor devices, just like your thyristor, MOSFET, IGBTs, right? And these are the devices which is helpful for the conversion of your AC to DC, as well as we can also use the same device, that is your power semiconductor devices, just like your thyristor can also be used for the conversion of your DC to AC as well as your AC to AC conversions. So, and next part we have seen, that is a conversion of your DC to AC conversion, which is called as your inverter part, and we have seen two types of conversion techniques, that is your sine wave techniques and your PWM techniques. So in sine wave what we have seen, that is your two types of waveform generally used. That part I will show you how the sine wave inverter works and how the PWM inverter works in next subsequent classes, right? Next one, today we shall go for the third part, that is your AC to AC conversions. So this part is your AC to AC conversions. So in this type of conversion, what we have seen, what we have to learn, that when the input voltage is your fixed AC voltage, it may be your single phase or three phase AC is available. So there are several kinds of device can be used for the conversion of your this fixed AC voltage to either to a fixed level of AC voltage with a regulated manner, or a constant AC fixed voltage, or we can also use the different devices to convert this fixed voltage AC into variable AC. It may be a low level, it may be a high level, or it may be a low level, right? So the first one, if you will go for the first case, that is a auto transformer or fixed turns ratio transformer. In auto transformer, what we know, that auto transformer is having a coil. Let me draw this one again. This is having the primary winding and a secondary winding, but the beauty of this transformer is that this is my input part, this is my output part, this is the tap, and this is phase, this is neutral. So the single winding can be converted, this single winding can be converted into two different windings. So one will act as the primary, and second part at the output end it may act as the secondary. Okay, so how the conversion happen? So as the tap is connected here, so this part, this section will act as the secondary part, and the total coil will act as the primary, right? So now if you will consider the primary number of turns is more, and if you will take this part only, then the secondary number of turns is less as compared to the primary. That's why the output voltage which will appear at the output end, it is always less than the input voltage in this particular case if the tap is here. If I will shift this tap to this point, then what will happen? The number of primary turns is equal to the number of secondary turns. That means the input voltage is equal to your output voltage, or reverse, or the output voltage can be equal to your input voltage. If the tap will goes on shifting in the downward direction, suppose the tap will shift to this point, then the secondary number of turns is again decreasing. That means the output voltage will decrease gradually if the tap will change in, if the tap will comes to the downward directions. So here what we have seen in this part, one auto transformer is connected. So we have realized how the auto transformer is working. Now the fixed voltage is applied at the input end of the auto transformer, that is your primary side, and at the output end we can generate different values of your AC voltage by using this auto transformer, or it is called as your fixed ratio transformer. But the ratio at the turns ratio at the secondary end can be changed by changing the tapping positions. Again, in the second case, the same fixed voltage is applied, it may be your single phase or three phase, is applied to the transformer with taps. This is your auto transformers. Okay, so both the cases the same thing is happening, right? So the first case, in first case it will generate only the low or fixed level of AC voltage, which is also called as the isolation transformer. It can also called as isolation transformer. The first case, the fixed voltage we can get at the output end, the lower voltage with a fixed range without any variation at the output end. If the input voltage will vary, then the output voltage will not vary. So for that only the auto transformer is used. Generally this type of transformer or isolation transformer is generally connected at the power electronic semiconductor devices. When the experiments we are going for the experiments of any semiconductor devices, we need to connect this isolation transformer. So generally isolation transformer is having two benefits or two purpose we are using this isolation transformer. One is for your isolation of your input side from the output end, and another one is to get the fixed level of voltage even if there is a variation at the input end, right? In the second case, that is auto transformer with tap changing, that we have already discussed. And in the third case, the same fixed voltage single phase or three phase is applied, and one thyristor voltage controller is used, which is called as your AC to AC converter, that is triac chip is used when triac is used. It may be your anode, it may be your cathode. If it is anode, then first one is for anode, this is cathode, for cathode it is anode, and this is the gate terminal. So this gate terminal is common to both the thyristor. So first one and second one, it is the integrated part. So single terminal can be used for both the thyristors. So this triac chip can be used for the AC to AC conversion, which is called as your thyristor voltage controller. You can also write this, you can also draw this figure in this way. So it is the anti-parallel connection that we have discussed in the first class. So this is my anode or cathode, this is your cathode or anode. So it should be connected to the transformer end. So input side one transformer is there, so from the transformer you need to connect this, and at the output end we were to get the output voltage, right? Next part, so by using this AC to AC conversion we can get the fixed value of AC voltage to variable AC voltage. And next part is the magnetic amplifier. So in magnetic amplifier also it is a, you can also called as the induction process, you can also get the variable AC voltages. So all are coming under your AC to AC conversions. And last class we have seen one special type of conversions in first four cases. In these four cases, what is happening, we are changing the fixed level of AC voltage into either fixed or lower level of voltage, either variable level of AC voltage, or the fixed level of AC voltage without changing the frequency. In first four cases, what we have seen, the voltage can be varied without changing the frequency. So frequency is always constant. If your input frequency is 50 Hz, if the input frequency is 50 Hz, by using this kind of converters we can get different level of output voltage but with 50 Hz of frequency, right? So there is no frequency conversion in these four type of converters. But if you'll go for the second case, this is also another example of your AC to AC conversions, what we have realized in last class, that is your AC to AC conversion cycloconverter. So cycloconverter is a device which will convert AC fixed voltage into variable AC output voltage with variable frequency, right? So this is the beauty of this cycloconverter or this device. The next conversion is your DC to DC conversions. It is called as your chopper, right? So what chopper do? So chopper means we need to supply some fixed values of your DC voltage in the input end. By using some semiconductor devices or chopper, that fixed voltage can be varied to variable DC voltage. So why we are doing this? Let's say one motor is connected with the load which is having a variable operations. That means the load speed is varying frequently by using this DC motor, right? So if you have a fixed DC voltage, then we can't change the speed of this motor regular or in regular interval. So for the regular changing of this motor speed, to change the load speed, we need to change this fixed DC voltage into variable DC voltage. So for that only the semiconductor chopper is used. Again, if the voltage is decreasing, then it is called as your buck operation. If at the output end, if the voltage is decreasing at the output, then it is called as your buck operation. If voltage is increasing at the output, then it is called as your boost operation. So if the voltage is increasing at the output, then it is called as your boost operations, right? Now moving to the next. So we have completed the converter part. Now we are switching to the motor part. So what kind of motors are used in electrical drive systems, that we have to realize. So basically we have studied that there are two kinds of motor available in market. So one is your AC and one other one is your DC, right? So DC motor, if you will consider, these are generally used in the drive system very ancient days, when the AC motors are not developed properly, or when the power semiconductor devices are not developed. During that time, DC motors are generally used in the drive system. In traction drive, that is your train, tram, in that particular drive system, generally DC motors are used. Even if in Calcutta also you can see in tram, you will find this DC motor connected to the tram. Nowadays also they are using DC motors. and one single line is there above the tram, and you will get that is your fetch, and the rail is your negative terminal. So upper one is the positive terminal. If this is a tram, the rail is negative, and the overhead line, the pantograph which is connected with the overhead line, it is your positive. This part is called as the pantograph, where the tram is getting some supply from the overhead line. This Z type structure is called as your pantograph, right? So that we will discuss in third module. Now, so DC motors are now not generally used because of your availability of your AC motors, and we know that AC motor is having less cost, more robust as compared to your DC motors, and the maintenance cost is also less for in case of your AC motor as compared to your DC motors. But the limitation of your AC motor is that for the speed regulations, DC motor is the best one. But for speed regulation of your AC motor, we need to go for these power semiconductor devices. And as we all know, there is a development of your power semiconductor devices nowadays, so we can directly go for AC motor instead of the DC motors. So in most of the industries nowadays, 70 to 80% or more than 80% drive systems are generally connected or driven by this AC motor instead of the DC motors, right? Now again moving to the next one. So DC motors, as we are dealing with electrical drives, though we have to realize both the systems, that is your DC system as well as AC system. In DC motors there are two types of field winding. One is your permanent magnet type field, another one is the electromagnet type field. So what is the function, what is the limitation, what is the merit of permanent magnet, and what is the limitation of permanent magnet as compared to your electromagnet, that we have to realize. So permanent magnet DC machines are generally used for the low power and low rating motors. So for low power applications we will find this permanent magnet DC motors, whereas for the high power applications we have to go for this electromagnet type DC motors. In permanent magnet type DC motors, what you have seen in household toys, we can find this permanent magnet. So simply you have to put one battery inside the toys and that will work. But this type of motor is not having high ratings. That means the speed is less. We can't do heavy duty work by using this permanent magnet, as the magnetic field is very poor. So we can't go for your high power or high load torque applications, right? So for that, electromagnet type DC motors are developed. So electromagnet type DC motors is having higher value of your magnetic field, for which we can go for your high power applications or high load torque applications as compared to the permanent magnet type DC motors. Okay, now moving to the next one. If you'll go for, so again there are several kinds of DC motors are there. So it may be your shunt, it may be your series, it may be your compound type motors, right? Next one, if you'll go for the AC part, so all these types of DC motors we have already gone through the machine one, so we will not go through that. Now for the AC motors, what we have seen, so these are the categorization of your DC motors: shunt, series, compound and permanent magnet type. This is related to your DC motors. And in AC types, what we know, squirrel cage type induction machines, wound rotor type, wound rotor or linear synchronous motors are there, wound field permanent magnet type AC motors are also available. And now we are dealing with some new kinds of your DC motors, which is called as your brushless DC. So brushless DC motor is having less maintenance cost and soundless machines are, and it is your without noise we can start this motors. So it is your brushless, right? Next, stepper motor is also there, and your it is for the position control you can use the stepper motor. And the next one is a switched reluctance motors. So it is coming under your AC motors. Only the brushless DC motor is coming under your DC part, right? So as the DC motors is having several disadvantages, just like your maintenance cost is more, one brush is connected inside the DC motor, so that's why the maintenance, we have to do the regular maintenance in particular industries, and the cost of DC motor is generally higher than the induction motors. And second one and third one, it is we can't go for the DC motor because in every cases, because as the supply voltage is AC, so every condition you will get direct AC voltage instead of your DC voltage. So whenever we are going for the connection of your DC motor in any kind of industries or any areas, we need to convert the supply AC voltage to DC one, then only this motor can be driven. So that is another disadvantages. So extra converter part should be needed, so that cost is also included in this DC motor cost, right? So that's why nowadays we are directly going for the AC motors. So for this AC motors, what you need to do, you need to convert for speed regulations only, you need to convert some power semiconductor devices by which the speed regulations of this AC motor can be well regulated and the efficiency of this motor become higher. Then moving to the next. So how the next part is your how to choose an electrical drives. So generally electrical drives can be chosen in different parameters should be considered during the choosing of an electrical drives. So first one is a steady state operation requirement. So we need to realize the mode of operation, whether it is a steady state operation is happening in drive system or not, or it may be your transient operation is happening or not. Again, the requirements related to the source, whether AC is available or DC is available. Depending upon the source, you need to choose the motor. It may be your AC motor, it may be your DC motor, as we have already discussed in last slide. Next one is your fourth requirement is your capital running cost should be considered. Space and weight restriction is also there. So there are some contaminated areas where all kinds of motor cannot be connected, so space is another factor and weight is also another factor. So during the selection of the motor, we have to consider the space as well as the weight. Next one is the environment and location, whether it is an explosive environment or any kind of, whether it is a radioactive environment. So by considering all these type of environment conditions, we have to select either AC or DC, or the kind of AC machines or DC machines, which kind of machines is feasible for the which kind of environment, which kind of locations, that we have to select. Then next one is the reliability, which is the obvious thing in any kind of drive system, right? Next one, in first case what we have seen, in steady state operation we have to go for the speed torque characteristics, speed regulations, speed range, efficiency, duty cycle, quadrant of operation, and speed functions. So these are the factors which are coming under your steady state operations. So during the selection of your machine or any kind of electrical drive, it may be your AC drive or DC drive, you have to select, we have to realize these 7 parameters: speed torque characteristics of the machine, speed regulation of the machine, speed range, efficiency, duty cycle, quadrant of operation, and speed fluctuations. Again, moving to the next one, that is your transient operations. So during the transient operations, what you need to do, there are again 4 parameters is there: value of acceleration and deceleration, starting, braking, reversing. So generally these 4 parts are coming under your transient operations, because during starting, braking, reversing, and your acceleration, there is a huge voltage drop and the amount of current value will increase. So due to that, transient condition will occur, and during that transient condition, which kind of machine is feasible to handle that amount of your starting current, by realizing that part, we need to select the motors. Next one is the requirement related to your source. So as we have seen, the type of source and the capacity, magnitude of source values or source voltage, and voltage fluctuations, power factor, what is the power, how much power factor we are getting, and harmonics and their effect on other loads, and ability to accept the regenerated power. That is called as your regeneration process, that we will discuss in your third module. So these are the 3 things, that is your steady state operation, transient operation, and your requirement related to your source. By taking all these 3 considerations, including another 4, that is your capacity, capital and running cost. Next one is the space and weight restrictions. The next one is the environment and location and reliability. We need to select these electrical drives. Okay. Now next part is your status of AC and DC drive. So what are the status? The total cost of your induction motor and the controller are very costlier than your DC drives, but the maintenance cost of the DC motor is very high as compared to the AC drives. If you will go for the technology of DC drive system is new one, whereas AC drive were not reliable as DC. And the next one is your development of your linear and digital ICs and VLSIs were helpful in improving the performance of your AC drive. This is the main part. The cost of the initial cost, that is your purchasing, the cost of AC machines, whenever we are purchasing one AC machine as well as DC machine, the initial purchase value of this AC machine is low as compared to the DC machine for the same rating of machines, right? For a particular work, if you are selecting AC machine and DC machines, if you will go for the cost of AC machine without your controller part, then the cost is lower as compared to the DC machines, right? So nowadays, as the VLSI devices are and the power semiconductor devices are developed, so we can easily go for these AC machines, because the advantage of AC machine is that it is having less maintenance, it is more robust as compared to the DC machines. Okay. Now moving to the next part. So in this part we will switch to the next part of your syllabus, that is your dynamics of electrical drives. So what do you mean by dynamics of electrical drives? So dynamics means, in this chapter what we have to discuss? We have to discuss the applicable, what type of this chapter we have to discuss the dynamic relations applicable to all types of electrical drive systems. Okay, so first one is the fundamental torque equations. So what is fundamental torque equation? Let us consider one motor is there and it is connected to the load, right? So in motor, the motor shaft is connected, this is the shaft is connected to load, and motor is rotating in this way. Okay, if I am seeing from this side, so it is your clockwise, motor is rotating clockwise, the shaft is obvious, it will rotate clockwise, right? So if the shaft will rotate clockwise, now this load will rotate clockwise, but what about the load torque? Load torque always try to oppose this motion, so that's why the load torque is opposite to the motor torque. So this is my motor torque Tm, whereas this is the load torque TL, you can see here. So this part, the capital T, you can write also, this T is the Tm, whereas TL is the load torque. So load torque is always opposed to the motor torque, right? So by taking these abbreviations, so in the various narration used here, so J is the polar moment of inertia of motor load system referred to the motor shaft, which is unit is kg meter square. That is the moment of inertia. J is the moment of inertia. Omega m is the instant angular velocity of the motor shaft, which is in radian per second. T, capital T, you can also write this as Tm, it is the instantaneous value of your developed motor torque. So that's why I have written this as Tm, which is in Newton meter, and TL is the instant value of your load torque, right, which is in Newton meter. So as the load torque includes friction and windage torque, so what do you mean by friction? So when this motor is in the standstill condition, so there is a frictional force. So this load torque is the combination of your friction torque plus your windage torque. Okay, now in this case also I have drawn the same figure, but instead of T I have written this as Tm, and omega m is the angular speed, TL is the load torque which is opposing to the motor torque. So this is my motor part, this is my load part. So Tm is the motor torque in Newton meter, TL is the load torque in Newton meter. Tm is equal to, what is motor torque? So to drive this load we have to overcome this load torque plus the moment of inertia, that is the rate of change of your angular moment, right? So Tm is equal to TL plus moment of inertia into d omega m by dt. So J is the moment of inertia of the drive system, which is in kg meter square, and Wm is the instantaneous angular velocity of motor shaft, which is in radian per second, and d omega m by dt means it is the rate of change of your instantaneous values of your angular velocity. So it is the product. So J into d omega m by dt plus TL should equal to the motor torque. That means if this motor torque is equal to your this part, this value, if motor torque is equal to this value, then the system will in standstill condition. the system will not operate. If both the sides are same, that means to overcome this load torque as well as the inertia of the system, we need to increase the motor torque. Okay, so we will discuss that part in next slide. So in this case, when the angular moment, omega m is the angular moment, in the above cases what we have studied, if Tm is greater than TL, then the angular moment rate of change of your d omega m by dt, it should be greater than 0. And if Tm is less than TL, that is your motor torque is less than your load torque, then d omega m by dt, it is less than 0. That means the drive is accelerating and it may comes to rest position, because the Tm value is less as compared to the TL, so that's why it may comes to the rest position. But in case of your first one, as the Tm value is higher than the TL, so it will not come to the rest position and it will reach the rated value of the speed. So to drive any system, this Tm should be greater than your TL. In third case, what we are seeing here, if Tm is equal to TL, then d omega m is equal to your d omega m by dt is equal to your 0. That means the motor will continue to run at the same speed. Okay, but for the starting of any motor, during the starting, what you need to do, this motor torque should overcome the load torque plus your inertia and the rate of change of your angular momentum. Then only we can drive any kind of systems. Once the drive will operate or drive will reach the rated values, now we can apply this Tm is equal to TL. That means motor torque can be decreased from the initial values. Okay, so initially we need to apply a maximum value of your motor torque, and once the motor will reach the rated values, we can decrease the motor torque during that time. Okay, now moving to the next slide. So this is the new topic, that is very interesting one. It is a 4 quadrant operations, and in this 4 quadrant operations we will realize how the lift or hoist drive is working. It may be your the lift which is connected inside the shopping malls, or the lift which is connected inside the industries for lifting of heavy materials, that we will realized. And that lift operations is all about your 4 quadrant operations. Okay, so next class we will discuss about the lift operation or the 4th quadrant operations, how this 4th quadrant operations, or it is also called as your multi-quadrant operation, is happening. That will be discussed in your next class. Okay, so thank you all, have a good day.